Looking for financial insights you can trust?
How do you protect yourself as an investor? What's the strategy?
I think it's really simple. I think you just want to be diversified in your portfolio.
The Payne family brings real-world experience to every conversation.
Well, I think that's the problem right now is, right, a lot of people that are close to retirement, they're taking so much risks. And if we do get a big sell-off, it could derail their retirement.
Listen to the Pain Points of Wealth on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
It's the 77 WABC News Hour.
Talking the news with Noam Laden.
All the news you need to know with Joe Nolan, traffic, Justin Ellick, sports. And now,
Talking the news with Noam
on 77 WABC.
Yes, that's me. Good morning. It is Thursday, February 5th. Your forecast from the 77 WABC Weather Center. Sunshine today, high 31. Tonight and overnight, few clouds, low 19. And then Friday, cloudy, high 32. If you're walking out the door with us right now, it is 10 and clear in New City up in Rockland County, 12 and clear in Edison over in New Jersey, and it's 13 and clear right outside our Midtown studios.
This is the Top 5 at 5.
So few clues in the search for Savannah Guthrie's mom. A mom says the city did nothing to protect her little boy. A sad goodbye to a Nassau County police officer. Big honors for a Staten Island soldier who gave his life for others. And it's Cardinal Dolan's last day on the job. All right, let's get into it at 5:01. Savannah Guthrie pleading for the safe return of her mother, the Today Show anchor, posting a video last night where she asked for those holding her mother, Nancy, to provide proof that she's still alive.
We, too, have heard the reports about a ransom letter in the media. As a family, we are doing everything that we can. We are ready to talk.
Guthrie says her mother doesn't have the medication she needs to survive.
Our mom is our heart and our home. She is 84 years old. Her health, her heart is fragile. She lives in constant pain. She is without any medicine. She needs it to survive.
If you're under a rock, you may not know. The 84-year-old was reported missing Sunday afternoon when she did not show up for church. The Pima County Sheriff's Department believes she was possibly kidnapped or abducted, but they say they have no reason to believe that she is dead. Guthrie, more from her and her family members, spoke in a video that was up on all social media platforms last night.
We will not rest. Your children will not rest until we are together again. We speak to you every moment, and we pray without ceasing, and we rejoice in advance for the day that we hold you in our arms again.
And the Today Show anchor thanking everybody for their continued support.
On behalf of our family, we want to thank all of you for the prayers for our beloved mom, Nancy. We feel them, and we continue to believe that she feels them too.
All right, so here's what we know so far. So yesterday you may have seen these reports from Ashley Banfield that said police were narrowing the investigation in this case to Savannah Guthrie's brother-in-law, but they threw cold water on that pretty quickly. The investigation is narrowing its focus, though. This is what some sources are saying and have been talking to local outlets in Arizona, saying the focus is from a kidnapping ransom investigation towards a probe of anybody who may have known the 84-year-old grandmother. Now, they're saying a whole lot more than that, but they're saying that detectives are reportedly investigating people known to Nancy Guthrie or her family as possible perpetrators of her abduction. Well, that's what happens in any of these cases. Doesn't mean any of them will be found out to be behind this, but they're also still not ruling out that Nancy was taken by kidnappers hoping to cash in on the ransom connected to her high-profile daughter. But what they are saying is they don't have a whole lot of leads. It's part of the reason you saw and are hearing this from Savannah Guthrie, these pleas for any information, anybody that may know anything to come forward in that case. 504, the number of New Yorkers who have been found dead outside in the extreme cold has risen to 17 now. Mayor Mamdani says hypothermia believed to played a role in at least 13 of these deaths, while 3 others are overdose related. And the latest one, well, that's just not known yet.
These are also some of the coldest conditions that the city has faced in its recorded history. And so we want to encourage everyone to take this seriously and to respond accordingly.
Man, it's only going to get worse this weekend. We're going to dip into the teens, kind of like we were like a week ago. It's going to be really cold.
We will continue to do everything in our power to get every New Yorker into a shelter where they will be safe and they will be warm. If you see someone in need, please call 311 immediately. These are dangerous, life-threatening conditions. And as long as temperatures remain this low, the risk of fatal exposure endures.
Since the cold stretch started back in January, more than 1,100 New Yorkers who were outside have been placed in shelters. But as you heard, that death toll now up to 17. And we all know about the snow that continues to hang around because it just can't melt with these cold temperatures. But what about all the rock salt that's been sprinkled onto city streets?
The salt the Department of Sanitation uses arrives on ships and is unloaded in New Jersey or Staten Island and then ferried to storage sites around the city. In a typical year, the city imports some 900,000 metric tons of salt. During this recent storm, the city used 99,000 metric tons of salt. A bulk supplier on Staten Island says they got their salt from 3 Chilean ships. However, the bitter cold hasn't been great for the salt because it's less potent in below zero weather. So the city sprayed the salt with another kind of salt, calcium chloride, to make it more effective. Lisa G., 77 WABC News.
WABC News Time 5:06. New Yorkers now know, there we go, who will be Governor Hochul's running mate.
Governor Kathy Hochul on Wednesday picked former New York City Council Speaker Adrienne Adams as her running mate in her fall Democratic re-election campaign, forging the first all-female ticket in state history. The governor says it was a process.
There's only been one offer made and one person accepted. But no, I understand people let us know they don't want to go through vetting for whatever reason. You know, we cast a wide net.
Hochul tapped Adams as her lieutenant governor candidate to help her win over minority voters in New York City. I'm Lisa Ritchie, 77 WABC News.
President Trump's latest attempt to try and erase his 2024 conviction for falsifying business records in New York did not appear to go well in a Manhattan federal court yesterday.
You might know it as the Trump Stormy Daniels hush money case from the 2016 campaign. Trump's team was asking to move his state convictions to federal court, where the Supreme Court's presidential immunity ruling might allow the conviction to be overturned. But the federal judge Wednesday seemed unlikely to agree, accusing Trump's team of seeking 2 bites at the apple, having already demanded a reversal from the state judge who heard the case. A jury found Trump guilty of 34 felonies related to the payments in 2024. Wednesday's judge promised a quick ruling. Andrew Whitman, NBC News Radio, New York.
WABC News Time 5:09. President Trump speaking on a wide range of topics in an exclusive interview with NBC News. They aired part of this last night.
If I didn't go in there with the National Guard, with troops, you wouldn't have the Olympics, which I got the Olympics. You wouldn't have the Olympics in Los Angeles.
President Trump says he hopes to push immigration crackdowns in 5 more cities nationwide, while he says the experience in Minneapolis has taught him that he needs a softer touch. He spoke highly of the job, though, that DHS Secretary Kristi Noem has been doing.
She was in charge of the border. The border's closed. I mean, everybody gives me A+ on the border. The border was a disaster. People were pouring into our country.
But what about the enforcement?
They don't even try and come up now.
The president also speaking about a meeting with Chinese President Xi.
I'm going to be going there in April. Then he's coming here toward the end of the year.
Coming to the White House?
He's coming to the White House, yeah. Toward the end of the year. We have a very good relationship.
The president last week made his announcement about who he wants to take over as Fed chair. He talked about that last night.
We're way high. Okay, we're way high in interest. We have now, with me and with all the money, I've always been good at money. And with all the money coming into our country, we're a rich country again. We have debt. but we also have growth.
And President Trump did not rule out a 2028 run for the Oval Office.
I don't know. It would be interesting. But wouldn't it be terrible if I agreed with, if I gave you the answer that you're looking for? It would make life so much less exciting.
Yeah, it would. All right, you'll hear more of that interview over the weekend on NBC. 5:10, borders are. Tom Homan says 700 agents being drawn down immediately as ICE continues its operations in Minnesota. Correspondent Maggie Vespa reports it comes amid continued tensions in Minneapolis.
Nearly 1 month after an ICE officer shot and killed Renee Good, the family of the Minneapolis mom speaking publicly for the first time. Her brothers appearing at a congressional forum about use of force by DHS officers.
Minnesota officials, including Governor Tim Walz, Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Frey, have been vocal in their opposition to Operation Metro Surge, which began back in December, has seen thousands detained, 2 civilians killed in shootings involving those ICE agents.
Calling on the Trump administration to refrain from making arrests around schools, blasting what he calls a growing trend of officers detaining children, including Liam Conejo Ramos, the Minneapolis 5-year-old released with his dad from a Texas facility Saturday.
Renee Good's brother, he appeared at a congressional forum about the use of force by ICE officers yesterday.
I still don't know how to explain to my 4-year-old what these agents are doing.
Meantime, Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem says that immigration agents in Minneapolis are going to be wearing body cameras now in a move for more transparency. And then she was yesterday talking about the southern border, and she says it's never been more secure. She was in Nogales, Arizona, to give an update on the border wall there.
But most of all, we thank President Trump for the guts and the love of this country to do the right thing.
She also placed blame on the Biden administration for creating the border crisis that she says the White House and her have had to fix.
Told the American people what we needed. He said we needed a wall, and we have a wall, a big, beautiful wall that President Trump also wanted painted black so that it would endure for a long period of time, that it would look like the strength and stamina that the American people have.
And there's more signs that illegal immigration into the U.S., Texas especially, has turned into a trickle. The head of the Border Patrol releasing new data yesterday showing a dramatic decline across the entire southern border.
They just came out with the numbers today, a little over 200,000 last year, down from over 2 million the year before.
Yeah, that's Chief Mike Banks says morale is through the roof because agents at the border now feel empowered thanks to the White House.
We did that without a single law being changed.
Yeah, again, 200,000 encounters last year on the southern border, down from 2 million the year before. WABC News Time 5:13. The man convicted of attempting to assassinate then presidential candidate Donald Trump sentenced to life in prison yesterday.
It is very satisfying to have the result that we had today, and that was really a combination of the hard work, starting with the Secret Service agent down there in Palm Beach County and the brave citizen from Palm Beach County, and the efforts from the Martin County Sheriff's Office and all of our partners.
That's a spokesman with the Martin County Sheriff's Office who was part of a team who took down Ryan Ruth. Ruth was found by authorities hiding in shrubbery with a rifle as then candidate Trump played golf nearby.
It started with the bravery of the Secret Service agent who found Mr. Ruth hiding in the woods with his rifle, identifying him and taking action without hesitation, which led to Mr. Ruth fleeing that scene. Fortunately, there was a vigilant citizen of Palm Beach County who saw what happened and was brave enough to get enough information to relay that to law enforcement.
And prosecutors and police in this case say the judge in this case got it all right.
So the defendant tried to portray himself as a do-gooder, a victim, and I think Judge Cannon said it best. She says, the evil is in you, Mr. Ruth. The evil is in you. You are the one that were trying to kill the President of the United States, former and then to be President of the United States. The evil is in you.
WABC News Time 5:15, the White House confirming that the U.S. shot down an Iranian drone that approached the USS Abraham Lincoln in the Arabian Sea. Correspondent Richard Engel says hours later in the Strait of Hormuz, 2 Iranian ships and a drone approached a U.S. commercial vessel.
Iranian media this morning, which often doesn't reflect the government's view, say that Iran had no intention of attacking American ships, but was merely carrying out surveillance during 2 confrontations off of Iran's coast.
But officials from the U.S. and Iran say they still expect to hold these nuclear talks on Friday, even with all that going on.
U.S. Central Command says an Iranian drone flew aggressively on Tuesday toward the American aircraft carrier USS Abraham Lincoln, part of what President Trump calls the armada he deployed to the Middle East in case of a new war with Iran.
And Axios reporting the discussions will take place between the U.S. and Iran in Oman. Its talks were originally set to take place in Turkey, but for whatever reason, the location and format was changed at Iran's request. It'll be awfully interesting to see what happens there. In a moment, we'll tell you how Amazon is messing with Alexa. We'll get to that story. But first, 5:16, let's head over to the 77 WABC Sports Desk, and here's birthday boy Justin Ellen.
Thank you, Noam Layden. First sports report as a 30-year-old.
Wow, that must be huge.
It's monumental.
Yeah.
Head to the hardwood here at the Garden.
Is it any different than it was when you were 29?
You mean yesterday?
Yeah.
No.
You still had to get up in the middle of the night.
Still to get up in the middle of the night. It's just today woke up to some nice texts. Got family across the world in Israel. They were already up, and Adam enjoying their breakfast and wishing me a happy birthday. It was very nice. And some family out in Sweden wishing me a happy birthday.
Wow, Sweden.
Yeah,
family. Wow.
Yeah, we're very well versed.
Very international too.
We do what we can. We like to be represented all over the globe. Me and my elk. Let's get to sports here at the Garden. Jalen Brunson had 42, 9, and 8, and the Knicks outlasted the Denver Nuggets 134-127 in 2 overtimes for their 8th straight victory. The Knicks had won by an average of 24.7 points during their winning streak before last night's thriller, in which neither team, led by double digits, OG Anunoby, scored 20 points. Up next for the Knicks, they'll visit the Pistons in Detroit tomorrow night. They did make a little trade yesterday ahead of today's 3 p.m. trading deadline. Gershon Yabusele to the Chicago Bulls in exchange for guard Dalen Terry. Do you know who either of those people are? No, Mike.
I do not.
Okay, there you go. And it's definitely not Giannis Antetokounmpo, but more on that in a little bit. First off, the Nets, they're back in action tonight out in Orlando at 7 p.m. against the Magic. And in other NBA news, we do approach today's trading deadline. The Golden State Warriors have agreed to trade forward Jonathan Kuminga and guard Buddy Hield to the Atlanta Hawks for veteran center Kristaps Porzingis, marking the unofficial end of the Warriors' pursuit of Giannis Antetokounmpo. They were frontrunners there. Warriors made several offers over the past week, but came away with the impression over the last 24 hours that the Bucks won't be moving Antetokounmpo at the deadline and pivoted to other plans. Also, the Mavericks have agreed to trade 10-time All-Star big man Anthony Davis to the Wizards in an 8-player blockbuster. Also, looking ahead to tonight on the ice, the Devils, they're back in action, welcoming in the Islanders at 7 p.m., and the Rangers, they'll be at home at MSG hosting the Hurricanes also at 7. And, of course, it's a Thursday now, looking ahead to Sunday evening, 6:30 p.m., kickoff for Super Bowl 60, Seahawks and Patriots. Seahawks, they're still 4.5-point favorites. That's your Sports Now, man. I'm Justin Ellick on 77 WABC.
WABC News Time 5:20. Top White House officials visiting Pacific Palisades, California, promising to take over and now fast-track the building permits following the Palisades and Eaton wildfires last year. EPA Administrator Lee Zeldin, who was on with Sid and Friends in the Morning yesterday, and SBA Administrator Kelly Loeffler met with fire victims, held some closed-door talks with L.A. Mayor Karen Bass and the county supervisor in Los Angeles.
It is very apparent that there are a number of people waiting for their full insurance payment. They are desperate to receive every last penny that they need from their policy to be able to rebuild their lives.
Now, a lot of this, of course, falls on local lawmakers, but also a lot of it falls on the insurance companies, which have been slow to pay out.
For any of those insurance companies anywhere that are screwing over these local families and denying them an opportunity to be able to rebuild their home, you obviously have the full attention of all of us.
Yeah, if you watch any of this, it's pretty shameful what's going on with the insurance company. Zeldin, who says the talks were productive, focused on accelerating reconstruction, building those homes as quickly as possible. 521. Amazon making its Alexa Plus AI assistant now available to everybody in the U.S.
The company said Wednesday it will start charging about $20 a month for new users to access Alexa Plus. The service will remain free for Amazon Prime subscribers. Amazon says the new AI version of Alexa can handle multiple queries at a time and take actions on behalf of the user, like booking an Uber. I'm Tammy Trujillo.
Down in D.C., Republican Florida Senator Rick Scott bemoaning the fact that attempts to get a voter ID bill into the government funding package were unsuccessful. He was sponsoring what was called the SAVE Act in his chamber.
So this bill is real simple. One, you have to prove you're a citizen to register to vote and vote. Number two, we have voter ID.
Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer calls it Jim Crow 2.0, claiming it would disenfranchise minority voters. But the most recent Gallup poll shows 84% of Americans support showing ID to vote. 80% of black voters say they want mandatory voter ID.
We got to secure our elections. We know there's fraud in this country. We know the Democrats want illegals to vote. You've got to be vocal. You've got to call your congressmen, call your senators. Everybody's got to tell them, we've got to get this done.
Yes, he's not going to give up on that plan. 523, while we're in D.C., we'll go from Congress over to the White House, where an Israeli-American couple held hostage by Hamas say they are incredibly grateful for First Lady Melania Trump helping in getting them released. Keith and Aviva Siegel met with the First Lady at the White House yesterday.
I am eternally grateful to you and President Trump for bringing me home and for bringing all of the hostages back to their families.
They were captured during the Hamas attack in October of 2023. Aviva, she was released that November, but Keith was held until February of 2025. The First Lady's new documentary, it features a scene of her meeting with Aviva while her husband was still being held by Hamas to put the attention on her husband.
Aviva was a warrior. She's a warrior. She was fighting very hard for Keith, and I know he suffered a lot. I'm happy to see you healthy at home with your children, with your grandchildren, with your family.
And Aviva Siegel told the First Lady yesterday, she said she did not think she was going to survive captivity in Gaza.
In my book, everybody that will read it will understand what happens to somebody that's 64 years old, kidnapped from a home, and went through so many moments that I thought and was sure that I'm going to die.
Siegel's telling the First Lady they were excited to have a chance to thank her in person yesterday. 524, an Alaska man's been sentenced following his conviction for an in-flight sex assault of a teenager.
In January 2025, the victim, a 17-year-old girl, was seated near a window. 29-year-old Trayton Ballot was in the middle seat. He repeatedly touched the girl's inner thigh. A flight attendant moved the girl to another seat. Ballot was arrested when the plane landed in Seattle. He was convicted by a jury and sentenced to 18 months in federal prison and 10 years supervised release. I'm Brad Ford.
A Navy fighter pilot in San Diego being given the Medal of Honor more than 70 years after the Korean War.
100-year-old Royce Williams, who retired from the Navy in Escondido, is being given the Medal of Honor. San Diego Congressman Darrell Issa says President Trump personally informed Captain Williams, who received the honor for exceptional valor and heroism during the Korean War. Williams was involved in the longest dogfight in Navy history in 1952, facing 7 Soviet MiG-15s on his own for 35 minutes and shooting down 4 of them before returning safely to his aircraft carrier. Because the Soviet Union was not officially involved in the Korean War at the time, his heroics were classified for 50 years before his story was finally told. I'm Jack Cronin.
And coming up after 5:30, we'll hear from the parents of a Staten Island soldier who has received the Medal of Honor posthumously. That coming up after 5:30. WABC News Time 526. This is just one of those odd stories. Police in Colorado say a man arrested for DUI admitted he was driving with 3 children inside the trunk of his car. In newly released body cam video, the man can be heard confessing after being handcuffed that, hey, I just want you to know my kids are in the trunk of the car.
All right, go ahead and put your hands behind your back. So you have 3 kids hiding in the trunk?
Yes.
What are you guys doing?
Okay. Well, now go ahead and step over here. You didn't think that would have been a good idea to say something before?
Yeah, so officers say the driver was stopped for reckless driving. This was last month. The children reportedly found unharmed, thank God, released to family members. A man taken to jail on suspicion of DUI, reckless driving, and 3 counts of child abuse. Just sort of a strange story.
It's the 77 WABC News Hour.
Talking the news with Noam Laden.
All the news you need to know with Joe Nolan, traffic, Justin Ellick, sports. And now,
Talking the news with Noam
on 77 WABC.
Yep, that's me. Good morning. It is Thursday, February 5th. Your forecast from the 77 WABC Weather Center. Sunshine today, high 31. Tonight and overnight, a few clouds, low 19. And then Friday, cloudy, high 32. If you are walking out the door with us right now, so happy you are. 10 clear in New City up in Rockland County. It's 12 and clear in Edison over in New Jersey, and 13 and clear right outside our Midtown studios. WABC News Time 540. This is one of those heartbreaking stories that I hate. A mother praying for a miracle as her toddler fights for her life in a Manhattan hospital. The boy's father has been arrested for attempted murder. So police say 2-year-old Malik had been living with his father, 30-year-old Davon Morrison, at a Long Island City homeless shelter. And police say Morrison claims he was so drunk last Friday night that he does not remember beating his child. He did not take him to the hospital until Monday, when a relative noticed what bad shape little Malik was in. He suffered brain damage, fractured pelvis, now on a ventilator at Cornell Hospital. His mom, Cynthia Williams, she raced to the hospital and then told reporters she had been fighting the system for a long time, trying to get full custody of her son because she said his father was a terrible, terrible man. So she blamed the system for failing her and, more importantly, for failing her 2-year-old son.
It's too late. I don't know what y'all want me to say. I don't. It's too late. It's too late. Y'all saw the signs. My son cried every time he had to go with that man.
We have Cynthia Williams outside the hospital as reporters surrounded her to get her take. Morrison's being held without bail on attempted murder, assault charges, while Williams is devastated, devastated, she says, by ACS, which failed her. She says the police failed her. Here's a little more from what was just an awful little mini press conference to watch yesterday.
Because I shouldn't have to be here. I fought for my son. I warned ACS, the courts, NYPD, everybody.
Yeah, so an investigation has to be done here. A domestic violence advocate, she was by Williams' side during this, press conference is the wrong thing to call it, but a scrum of reporters yesterday.
Why do we again and again and again and again have to wait to such a tragedy to shine the light on domestic violence? What's happening every day.
Now, we did get a statement from the Administration for Children's Services. They released a statement saying the safety and well-being of New York City children is our top priority. They say they're investigating this horrific abuse with the NYPD and are hoping that child makes a full recovery. 5:43. 17 New Yorkers have been found dead outside in the cold during this latest cold stretch. That toll continues to go up.
Mayor Zoran Mamdani is opening a new transitional shelter facility as the city continues to try to get homeless New Yorkers out of this bitter cold.
Any single New Yorker we can bring indoors that would otherwise stay outside is a difference worth making.
This weekend, temps are expected in the single digits again. The new Safe Haven shelter in Lower Manhattan can accommodate up to 106 people. I'm Lisa Ritchie, 77 WABC News.
WABC News Time 544. A Bronx man under arrest today, accused of working as a transporter in an international human trafficking ring that was connected to prostitution taking place on Long Island and elsewhere.
Suffolk County Police don't think Eric Acevedo was the mastermind of the operation, just a guy who drove women to hotels in Huntington Station and collected money from sex workers. The 36-year-old Bronx man was arrested at his home Wednesday and was charged with promoting prostitution and conspiracy. Police think the trafficking ring may have ties to the Dominican Republic, Brazil, New York, Florida, and perhaps other states as well. Andrew Whitman, NBC News Radio, New York.
Do you remember the Holocaust survivor, Sammy Steigman, who was told he wouldn't be allowed to tell his story inside a Brooklyn middle school? Then he came in here and gave a great interview on Sid and Friends in the morning. Well, we have an update on that story and what the school is doing with Sammy Steigman. We'll get to that in just a moment. But first, 5:45, let's head over, there we go, to the 77 WABC Sports Desk. And here's birthday boy Justin Ellick.
Thank you, Noam Laden. Started at the Garden. Jalen Brunson had 42 points, 9 assists, and 8 rebounds. And the Knicks outlasted the Denver Nuggets 134-127 in 2 overtimes for their 8th straight victory. Karl Anthony Towns added 24 and 12 while playing with a bandage over his right eye after he was bloodied in a head-to-head collision in the first quarter. The Knicks had won by an average of 24.7 points during their winning streak before last night's thriller, in which neither team led by double digits. OG Anunoby scored 20 points. Up next for the Knicks, they'll visit the Pistons in Detroit tomorrow night. They made a little trade late last night ahead of today's 3 p.m. trading deadline, trading forward Gershon Yabusele to the Chicago Bulls in exchange for guard Dalen Terry. Not the big splash of a move we were hoping for, but let's see. We got a few more hours left to go until 3 p.m. this afternoon.
You think there's going to be something big before that deadline?
I don't know. I mean, listen, you had the Golden State Warriors yesterday going out and getting Kristaps Porzingis, so now they're not really in the running for the big name out there that's been floated for the last, I don't know, month or even more. Giannis Antetokounmpo from Milwaukee.
So does that think the Knicks were like next on that list? No,
they weren't next on that list, but they were certainly on that list. So we'll see. I mean, you got a few more hours, but the Golden State Warriors went out and basically stopped talking to the Bucks, thinking that at the end of the day they might not even move Giannis. So we'll see, but other teams are moving on. And as for the Knicks, I'm not sure they had a backup plan. I think that was their 1A, and I'm not sure they had a 1B. We'll see.
But maybe that's why Golden State dropped out, because the Knicks were next at the table? I don't know.
You're very optimistic.
Yeah, maybe. I just think it would be fun if he came there.
Well, we'll find out if you're right today. We'll find out. Tonight, the Nets are back in action out in Orlando against the Magic. That's a 7 p.m. start there. Also, late yesterday, the Mavericks have agreed to trade 10-time All-Star big man Anthony Davis to the Wizards in an 8-player blockbuster. Looking ahead to 2 hockey games tonight, the Devils will welcome in the Islanders at 7 p.m., and the Rangers will host the Hurricanes also at 7. And it's Thursday before Super Bowl Sunday. Super Bowl 60, Seahawks and Patriots coming up 6:30 p.m. Sunday evening. Seahawks there still 4.5-point favorites. That is your Sports Noam, and I'm Justin Ellick on 77 WABC.
WABC News Time 5:49. Hundreds of mourners paying their respects at the wake of Nassau County Police Officer Patricia Espinoza yesterday in St. James. Espinoza was killed over the weekend while on her way to work. The 20-year-old who struck her was allegedly drunk behind the wheel. Espinoza worked in the 5th Precinct in Elmont, and among the mourners yesterday was the local legislator, Carrie Solagis, who said he knew Espinoza.
She was a community person. That's who she was. And this is very tragic. But what makes this even more tragic is that she died on her way to serve Elmont, our community. She died as a servant.
Espinoza leaves behind a husband and a 2-year-old daughter. Her funeral scheduled for 10:30 this morning at St. Patrick's Church in Smithtown. Over in Brooklyn, Jewish parents at a Brooklyn Heights middle school still hoping they can get a principal there fired after she decided not to invite a Holocaust survivor to speak to students. You might remember this. This was back in December. Middle school 447 principal Aaron Rush declined a request to invite Sammy Steigman to speak to students, and it caused a controversy.
When I reviewed the speaker's website, I found the slides to be political in nature. DOE's policy is that students should learn in a politically neutral environment.
Now, Sammy Steigman says he has no political agenda, just wanted to tell his survivor story to middle school students.
When I tell people that invite me, I said, look, I would like to say A, B, C. Okay, is it against your company's or your school's policy?
And so some Jewish parents at the school say, okay, you're not going to invite a Holocaust survivor, but you've brought in people who've talked about Palestine, Gaza, and word kafiyas.
So why is something that is being taught as current events, which is also political, acceptable, but the story of a Holocaust survival is not acceptable because it's too political? I think that at the end of the day, most of the people that are protesting with kafiyas aren't, hating Jews or anything like that, but certainly there is a minority of people that are actively anti-Jewish, and if you're going to teach kids, just teach them the whole breadth of what's going on.
Now, you might remember Sammy came in right mid this controversy in December, had a sit down with Sid on Sid and Friends in the morning. Boy, he told just this unbelievable story of survival of the Holocaust. And in a surprising move now, the Department of Education has reversed Principal Rush's decision, and they invited Steigman to speak at the school, and he said yes, so he will be there today speaking at the school. That, as parents are still calling for the removal of that principal. 5:52. Over to New Jersey, where a special primary election is going to be held today to determine who will fill Governor Mikey Sherrill's former congressional seat.
Driving around North Jersey, you see the signs stuck everywhere. They're stuck into the snow and the ice. A stunning number of Democrats, 11, battling to replace Governor Sherrill in New Jersey's 11th congressional district, which includes portions of Morris, Essex, and Passaic counties. The three frontrunners, former Congressman Tom Malinowski, former Lieutenant Governor Tahisha Way, and Essex County Commissioner Brendan Gill. Whoever wins the Democratic primary will face the only Republican in the race, Randolph Mayor Joe Hathaway. April 16th is when that election will be held. James Flippin for 77 WABC News.
WABC News Time 5:53. A mom in Plainfield, New Jersey, pleading for the return of her 19-year-old son who has autism. You might remember we told you about this story a week ago. Now it's 2 weeks since anybody has seen Connor Oldfield, who was reported missing, last seen leaving his family's home near George Street in Plainfield about 1 p.m. on January 24th. His mother, Stephanie, says that some neighbors did catch video of him on their Ring cameras, and he seemed to be sort of running back and forth in the neighborhood.
I put on a brave front, but inside I'm dying. I've died so many times and come back.
In this video, you can see her son running up and down the street. That was the last time anybody has seen him. And this mother who owns a beauty salon in Plainfield says she's just trying to keep it together as she keeps her shop open amid this search.
He left his ID. He left money on his table, like cash money. That's right there. It's not a plan. He didn't pack a bag. All his personal belongings are still home.
Yeah, so family and friends say they've been spreading the word on social media, handing out flyers and hoping somebody has seen him. Now, the mom fears there is a possibility that he was picked up by ICE. I mean, they're legally here, so there's no issue there. But she says, maybe he's in ICE custody and nobody's been able to figure that out. U.S. Immigration and Enforcement agents were in Plainfield around the time that he went missing, but so far ICE has not said anything that he is in custody. Meanwhile, the mom says she just wants Oldfield back as soon as possible.
I'm begging you, say something. If you don't want to call the cops, call the news station, call somebody. Just direct him home, direct him to somewhere where he can be safe. Because let him go. He needs to come home. He have a whole family that loves him.
Yeah, last week we heard from the father and just what is an ongoing missing case in Plainfield, New Jersey. 5:55 over to Staten Island. President Trump going to award the Medal of Honor to Michael Olis. The Medal of Honor is the U.S. highest military award. There's only about 3,500 people who have received the medal since it was introduced back during the Civil War. Now, Michael Olis, who is from Staten Island, was killed in Afghanistan after he physically shielded a Polish army lieutenant from a suicide bomber. I mean, it's an amazing story, and unfortunately, he lost his life. President Trump called his parents to give them the news that he was receiving the honor posthumously.
Your son is going to get the highest honor that you can have.
Olis's parents, Bob and Linda, say they are extremely grateful for her.
It's just not handed out to anybody. You really have to deserve it. Extremely proud, but very sad. I'd rather have Michael than the medal.
Yeah, well, of course. Michael's mother says she's also moved by the president's gesture.
And I know he did what he felt like he should do, and he loved the Army. We're happy for Michael's legacy. It's something to be proud of.
Yeah, good job done by the White House. 5:56, Archbishop Dolan. Today is essentially his last day on the job because tomorrow at St. Patrick's Cathedral, Ronald Hicks will take over as the Archbishop. So he gave his last interview on the Catholic channel on Sirius XM about his last day and what he'll miss about New York. And he says a lot of it, what he'll miss, is just the mixture of so many people from all over the world.
My brother cardinals from around the world will say, New York is a light to the world. Now, we usually think of New York as being dark and somber. We're aware of the tawdry side. Because you've got more diversity, ethnic, racial, religious diversity, but everybody gets along. Are there incidents of turmoil? Yeah. But in general, we all get along. And so New York is a beacon.
It'll be sad to see him go, and then it'll be fascinating to watch the ceremony that takes place tomorrow as the new archbishop is brought in. Part of what they do is they close the door to St. Patrick's Cathedral in a ceremony that goes back hundreds of years. And Bishop Hicks will knock on the door, and then Dolan will open the door and welcome him in, and then he will then walk down to the archbishop's seat and take a seat there, and then he'll officially become the Archbishop of New York. That'll all play out, I'm sure, for the cameras tomorrow, and will be a very interesting day.
Thanks for listening to the News Hour with Noam Laden. You can hear the News Hour with Noam Laden weekday mornings at 5 on 77 WABC. If you like the podcast, share it with your friends and listen anytime at WABCRadio.com and download the WABC Radio app. Hit that subscribe button on all major podcast platforms. Plus, follow WABC on social on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and X. See you next time for a new episode, so you never have to wonder,
what the heck is going on here?
Listen to this podcast now
on the Red Apple Podcast Network. The Leadership Thread with Dr. Peggy Polonis.
I'm Dr. Peggy Polonis. Join me on each episode where I unravel the story that shaped leaders, tracing the thread that led them where they are today. Because leadership isn't born in adulthood. And thank you once again for joining us on the Leadership Thread, education, ethics, and sustainability.
Download all of Red Apple Media's podcasts right now through your favorite podcast platform.